Hey friends, Justin Popovich here with the latest edition of the Ignite Your Essence newsletter. And we're going to do something a little different this week. I put together a short video presentation to talk about a subject that I think will help you and I think you'll find really interesting and also eye-opening because, the information will seem simple, but it seemed simple to me too, and I really started to apply it and I really started to look at it and analyze it and how it could impact my life. And things really haven't been the same ever since I've learned this information I'm going to share with you here. So I hope it helps you. Hope you get some value out of it, and I would definitely appreciate feedback from anybody that takes the time to sit down and watch this. So let's begin. What I want to talk about this week is the topic and the idea of attitude. I mean, attitude is a big word. It's a word that's thrown around all the time, and people are always talking about the importance of holding a positive attitude and PMA, positive mental attitude. And I think a lot of the time people don't really know what that means. They don't even understand what attitude really is when you break it down and the true impact it has on our life. And so what I'd like to do is kind of dive into some of the definitions and some of the ideas I've heard around this subject from some really interesting authors and mentors, and share with you some of my experiences, and hopefully it gives you some inspiration, give you some ideas for some of the projects you're working on right now. So first thing I'd like to share is one of my favorite quotes from an author named Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. He said, "Everything can be taken away from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And if you really think about it, everything could be taken away from you. You have really no certainty about anything in life other than the fact that you can choose how to think about something, how to react to something. I'm sitting here in my office right now. I have absolutely no control if the wall falls down and hits me, but I can control how I respond to that. I could get really upset about it, or I could just say, okay, let's move on, let's fix this problem. Point is, I don't control anything but my response, but my attitude. And so I thought it was a really powerful quote. But again, coming back to attitude, I like to define things. I like to really break them down and structure them in such a way that I totally understand exactly what it means. And it was Bob Proctor who took the word attitude and decomposed it into just something so simple and so usable that I think everybody should really hear it. And he says that his definition of attitude, he says, attitude is the composite of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. I mean, think about it in your life. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, that is you. That is everything about you. That's what you do. And it's all encompassing when you talk about attitude. So for me, for my dollar, I couldn't buy a better definition of attitude. So I think, that's perfect. And let's work with that. And when it comes to attitude, and more specifically, how it drives the results in our life, again, it was Bob Proctor who put together a concept that I think you'll find quite interesting. And the concept is all about showing people and giving people an understanding of how the mind works. Because here we're talking about thoughts, because those really determine feelings and actions. And it's your mind that controls your thoughts. But most of us, when we think about our mind, we don't have a picture of the mind. And in Bob Proctor's program, You Were Born Rich, his seminar, he goes ahead and actually develops his own image. He creates a picture of the mind. So up on the screen here I've got something called the stick person diagram that he always talks about, and I love it because it just works. It makes sense to me, and so I use it all the time. And this isn't your typical stick man, obviously. The head is bigger than the body, but the idea is that let the head represent the mind. Even though the mind is more than just our head, it's everything. It controls the body. Let the head represent the mind, so we have a visual picture. We have an image of the mind to work with. And then the little part below is the body. And if you break down the diagram even further, take the top of your head and call that your conscious mind, your thinking mind. Below that, the bottom part of the head, call that your subconscious mind, your conditioning, your programming, things you do without thinking. And then of course down below, the body. And whatever it is in your life, whatever results you produce, whether it's your physical fitness, your bank account, the status of your relationships, whatever. Those are the results you're getting in your life, and it's your physical body that takes the action to produce those results. Your body can't do anything without the mind first having the impact, and so this diagram kind of shows how all of that fits together. But if you look at it a little further, it's the conscious mind where the thoughts live, It's your subconscious mind that's often called the emotional mind, but really, those are your feelings. And then, of course, it's the actions that are being taken from the body's perspective. But combine those back together, and we go back to our original definition of attitude. Thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals attitude. And so really, going back to this diagram, attitude really drives results. They're pretty much one and the same. And so I actually say that your attitude equals your results in life. So it's not so much about having a positive mental attitude or having a better attitude. I just tell people, look, it's up to you to choose the result that you want to create in your life and design the attitude that you need to match that result. So if you're happy, being miserable, and that's the result you want, then continue on with an attitude that drives a miserable behavior. But my guess is that most people are dissatisfied with that kind of state. Most people want a much happier existence. They have the goals they're shooting for, and that's really the whole purpose of goals, is to pick the results you want and then make your attitude meet it. So let's take a look at this a little further. Let's look at some examples of personal results. I'm going to use some really common ones that I talk to my coaching clients about all the time. So a big one for all of us, obviously, finances. So you could have a personal result, current result of, I'm negative $5,000. I'm in debt, 5,000 bucks. And I'd really like to change that. I'd like to move ahead, and I'd like to actually have $10,000 in my bank account. So those are two drastically different personal results. Now, if you think about the previous slide, your result of minus 5,000 is simply just a result of how you were thinking, feeling, and acting about your finances up to this point. And so what you'll need to do is adopt the new attitude of somebody capable of putting $10,000 into their bank account. Another example. You have a current result of, I hate my job, really don't like what I do, and again, the thoughts, feelings, and actions I've been keeping and I've been holding about career have led me to the point now where I hate my job, and I'd really just like to be in a position of a dream career. I'd like to get up every morning, fired up to go to work, and I'd like to be in that kind of position. Or also, how about this one? This is a really big one for people. I'm out of shape. I'm not keeping the physical fitness that I want and need to live a long and healthy life, and what I'd really like to do is be healthy and fit. Well, guess what? If you go on the internet and go on to Google, you can find how-to guides on solving pretty much any problem. So I've given 3 kind of really common areas, common results here. Go look up how-to and then ... on Google. You can find how-to guides on anything. Then so if that's the case, then why is it that so many people are still stuck if there's a guide out there telling you exactly step A, step B, step C, how to get the result you want? Well, the reason why people aren't acting on those is because they haven't yet adopted the attitude of the right side of the page here. So finding the how-to is usually not a problem. You can find a person, you can find a guide, you can find a mixture of that, and get the exact steps you need to produce the result. But until you've shifted your attitude from the left side of the page to the right side of the page, that how-to guide isn't really going to be all that helpful to you. So this presentation has been more of a reminder than anything else, because I believe that anybody watching this probably understands this, probably knows it, but I don't think you can hear this enough. So start thinking about where your attitude has got you today. Look at all of your results. Take some time to write down the results you currently have in your life and start circling the ones you're dissatisfied with. Dissatisfaction is a great state of mind. It just tells you that I want to take some action. I want to change this result. I'm going to start by setting the goal. Now it's time for me to build a new attitude about how I want to see it. So I hope that's opened your eyes a little bit. I hope that's given you some food for thought and helps you out with your week. And I'd really value any feedback you have about this presentation. Once again, thanks for being a subscriber of Ignite Your Essence, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care. This is Justin Popovich.